Webster's dictionary defines the word mid as of or in the middle part or position of a range, but that's not what I'm looking for. So Urban Dictionary defines the word mid as typically used as a prefix to describe something that is average or mediocre. Oh, you crazy zoomers, what will you think of next? As it relates to this list, however, a great many mid-card championship reigns have been just that, mid, which is why it has been so refreshing in recent years to see several mid-card champions step up with legendary reigns. So those are the ones we are going to be talking about today. Just to spice things up a bit, we are going to limit these to one reign per title, so only the best of each belt will be represented. And if you complain about that, you're mid. I'm Tempest Hailing from partsFUNknown, and these are the 10 greatest mid-card championship reigns of all time. And before we get on with our list, please make sure that you're subscribed to partsFUNknown so you never miss a release of a new episode of Fantasy Booking Warfare, our show where 8 competitors go head-to-head to try and determine who is the least terrible booker of fantasy wrestling. Most recently, the retirement of Triple H, booked by Luke Owen and Dan Layton. Number 10, Austin Aries, X Division Champion. Austin Aries is a strange fellow, and his relationship with Impact Wrestling is almost certainly remembered more for his bizarre no-sell walkout at the end of Bound for Glory 2018, but his 300-plus day reign as X Division Champion is perhaps where his greatest contribution to the promotion came. Aries isn't the first name that people think of when they think of the X Division. AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Chris Sabin would probably spring to mind first, but their most iconic reigns came in the early days of TNA, which means multiple short reigns rather than a long division-defining one. Aries, however, has the longest reign in the title's history, holding the belt for 301 days and helping to bring the once lauded X Division back to prominence after several uninspired reigns. And to cap it off, he was never beaten for the belt, instead invoking option C to trade the title for a heavyweight title shot, which he won, elevating him to the main event like the best mid-card title reigns of old. Number 9, Kenny Omega, IWGP United States Champion. Sometimes it can be difficult to properly mint a new championship, especially in a promotion like New Japan Pro Wrestling with so many belts to begin with, but having your inaugural champion be Kenny Omega at the height of his power and popularity is a hell of a way to guarantee quality. Kenny won a 2-night tournament, last defeating Tomohiro Ishii to win the title. You know, the match where Ishii was biting the top rope to avoid being suplexed to the floor. So cool. From there, Kenny made it to the G1 Climax final, having many an amazing match along the way, including beating the IWGP Heavyweight Champion Kazuchika Okada, the only time the US Champion has beaten the Heavyweight Champion, before defending the title against Juice Robinson and Trent Beretta in great matches, but who can forget the IWGP US title match at Wrestle Kingdom 12 between Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. In many ways capping off Omega's reign as it ended just a month later, he and Jericho had one of the most financially successful matches in modern New Japan and one of the best matches ever contested over the belt. Number 8, Momo Watanabe, Wonder of Stardom Champion. The Wonder of Stardom Championship, or the White Belt, see, we're not the only ones that looks at a title and says, that's the big gold belt, because sometimes the color and the shape really are the best form of art. Thank you, Foo Fighters, has had a number of incredible champions over in Stardom, but while it may not be the longest reign or the one with the most defenses, Momo Watanabe's 358-day reign is the best in its history. Beating now WWE Women's Champion Io Shirai at Stardom's Gold Star event in an incredible match, Watanabe would go on to defend the title 13 times, in many ways carrying the promotion while top champion and holder of the Red Belt, God I love Stardom, Toni Storm was mostly inactive. Watanabe winning the title was a feel-good moment for the ages, and it paid off with a tremendous reign that brought stability to the title after a number of short reigns in 2017. The quality of Stardom's wrestling is no secret to hardcore fans by any means, but to truly stand out from the pack within Stardom means you have to have achieved something special. Number 7, Wes Lee, NXT North American Champion. When you think of the best things to come out of NXT, most people would instinctively cast their minds back to the time that William Regal said he was straight up gangsta trippin', and also probably some stuff from the Black and Gold era. That is why it is even more astonishing and impressive that the best NXT North American Championship reign came from Wes Lee following the NXT 2.0 era. Lee being a great singles champion maybe isn't as surprising to longtime Rascals fans, but considering his TV feud with Senga of the Thunder on NXT, it sure didn't seem as if WWE brass had big plans for him. Then he had a 269-day reign, putting on blowaway matches with a rejuvenated NXT roster, led by guys like Dijak, Nathan Frazier, Dragon Lee, and Ilya Dragunov, and it may come as a surprise to you, but that did indeed raise his stock. There have been a number of very good North American champions, but honestly none of them have come close to the reign of Wes Lee, whose title defenses have the edge in both quantity and quality. Number 6, Nigel McGuinness, ROH Pure Champion. The ROH Pure Championship has quite the iconic legacy for a title that only existed for 2 years before being discontinued and subsequently resurrected in 2020. But while that legacy is most certainly a group effort, one cannot talk about the title without first mentioning the name Nigel McGuinness. The ROH Pure rules are not as immediately exciting as other stipulations, so it takes a champion with a very particular set of skills to be able to not only get people excited and invested in the matches, but to make those matches some of the highlights of the entire promotion, and in 2005, there was no one more perfectly suited for that role than Nigel McGuinness. Virtually all of the most iconic Pure title matches come during Nigel's reign. McGuinness vs. Aries, McGuinness vs. Danielson, twice, McGuinness vs. Strong. By the time the belt was retired, it was seen as his title, and his reign remains one of the best title reigns in Ring of Honor history, regardless of the title. Number 5, Shinsuke Nakamura, IWGP Intercontinental Champion. Speaking of being forever linked with a championship, we have Shinsuke Nakamura and the most beautiful championship belt ever put on screen. The IWGP Intercontinental title had a few candidates for this list, and while you could certainly argue that the matches and storytelling of Tetsuya Naito's first reign as IC champ were superior to Nakamura's, there is no argument that Nakamura's first reign didn't do more for this title than maybe any other title on this list. Back when Nakamura was the most charismatic wrestler on the face of the planet, he took interest in this hideous-looking penny belt and saved it, replacing it with a gorgeous gold plate on a white strap, and coveted it as his most prized possession until it was virtually on par with the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Holding the title for 313 days during his first reign, Nakamura immediately elevated the title as he was a former 3-time heavyweight champion, but honestly, I think the most important factor in the quality of a mid-card title reign is just how much the champion cares about the title. If that title means the world to the person that holds it, then it means the world to those watching, and we will see that even more shortly, but never did the IWGP Intercontinental Championship mean more to a champion than it did to Shinsuke Nakamura. Number 4, John Cena, WWE United States Champion. While any of the reigns on this list could comfortably take the top spot, now that we're in the top 5, you can really see that any of these reigns can be considered the best ever, including and especially this one. Never has the United States Championship meant more under the WWE umbrella than when John Cena was champion in 2015. Not only did this reign change the perception of the title for practically the entire year, but it did a lot to change the perception of John Cena himself. From WrestleMania to SummerSlam, John Cena was the highlight of Raw almost every single week, having banging matches with the likes of Dean Ambrose, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Cesaro, Seth Rollins, the list goes on. And, similar to our last entry, never did the US title mean more to a wrestler than it did to John Cena here. When this title was stolen from him at SummerSlam by Jon Stewart of all people, he was pissed, and one of the greatest criticisms against John Cena has always been how little he seemed to care about his losses. Not this one though. Who would be the one to end John Cena's open challenge was the question of the summer in 2015, and it made it a certainty that there was always going to be at least one reason to tune in on Monday night. Number 3, Orange Cassidy, AEW International Champion. From one open challenge to another, Orange Cassidy's run as AEW International Champion set an impossibly high bar for all future champions to try and reach. The last few entries have highlighted what happens when a top star really cares about their championship, but here I present to you the single greatest example of this because, well, Orange Cassidy's entire character was that he didn't care, and then he finally found something that he cared about. He is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Anyone who denies that at this point is kidding themselves, and an 11-month reign firmly establishing the international title as the new workhorse title of a promotion with more depth to its roster than any other in the world was a combo on the level of orange juice and champagne on a sweet Christmas morning. The storyline of a wrestler defending their title week in and week out, accruing injuries until their body has finally had too much, is one of my favorites in wrestling, and with 30 title defenses in less than a year, there were more opportunities to tell that story to perfection here than ever before. Number 2, Rob Van Dam, ECW TV Champion. The measuring stick all mid-card championship reigns are compared to. Everyone from Paul Heyman to Bill Alfonso to Rob Van Dam himself will tell you just how significant this run as ECW television champion was. When RVD won the title from Bam Bam Bigelow in 1998, he'd simply done so in a great match. But by the time he was forced to relinquish the title 700 days later due to breaking his ankle, he had defended it over 120 times and made it the top championship in the promotion. This was his world championship. RVD was bound and determined to be the greatest thing on every single ECW show, and it would be hard to argue that he didn't accomplish that feat. 2 years as champion, having incredible matches with the likes of Jerry Lynn, matches that defined ECW in the late 90s, matches that influenced a generation of wrestlers to come. The reign is just awesome. What more is there really to say than that? You can go off the numbers and have a pretty darn good argument that this is the best mid-card title reign of all time, but it passes the vibe check. And what is ECW if not vibes? And number 1, Gunther, WWE Intercontinental Champion. Is this recency bias? Maybe. Is Gunther one of the all-time greatest wrestlers to step into a WWE ring? Yes, and I feel no uncertainty saying so. As I said in my list of greatest Intercontinental Championship reigns last month, Gunther is the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, and it isn't even close. Not only that, but I would argue that he is currently in the midst of the greatest mid-card championship reign of all time. The interest surrounding his reign is the most people have cared about the Intercontinental title in I don't know how long. He is the best wrestler in WWE currently, putting on the best matches with the most regularity on the biggest stages. It doesn't matter if it's WrestleMania or Clash at the Castle or any number of episodes of Raw or SmackDown, odds are Gunther's match is the most heated and most exciting thing on the show. There is still time for WWE to bollocks the ending of this illustrious reign, but I'm going to have faith that that won't happen because for 500 days as of today, Tuesday, October 24th, 2023, Gunther has been the perfect Intercontinental Champion. And that's our list. Please make sure that you like this video, subscribe, and enable notifications to always on so you never miss a fun video just like it. And check out this clip from the latest episode of Fantasy Booking Warfare.
I'm business led, you know. I'm thinking about
what's best for business.
It's what's best for business. It's an excellent point,
Nina, if you don't mind me saying. It's a wonderful point to add to this.
I can't with this man.
You got something in your nose.